Welcome to the next installment of the Dusty Trail. Again, I'm Nate. Today we're going to be going over the solar installation on my trailer. I've already done a lot of the work. The solar panel, getting the solar panel mounted up there is just a lot of metal cutting and kind of boring. So I skipped all that, got that up there already last night. But today what we're going to do is we're going to connect the solar panel's MC4 cable to a SEA cable. I think that's what those are, SEA. Anyway, two-prong, two-end. As long as you don't spell C but have all the letters for the word C, that's what it is. So don't spell C, use all those letters, start with the S. And then we're going to hook up an EC8, not 5 or 3, 8, because that's the number they're on, I guess, cable to plug into the energy generator that I bought. So here's the deal with these ECA cables. This is the hardest part of this. Now what you see here is I was practicing and I wanted to see what tugging this through, what it did to the cable underneath the insulation, and it really didn't break up the cable all that bad, which is good. But getting these things to pop through here is really difficult. What they are, they're these little billets or bullets or whatever, and you thread this into the wire, and then you solder, and then you're supposed to just pull it through, and then it clips into this. It's like a ring thing, and you've got like a little ridge in there. And I'll tell you, it's not easy. I was tugging pretty hard and could not get it to seat. I'll show you how I eventually did it. I'll show you the jig that I set up. I've got a couple of different tools to make this happen. Soldering iron, portable, and a torch. I could have just used both, but I want to be able to have this warm and have this going at the same time potentially, or at least close at it. And you don't want to touch anything that's hot. But I'll show you what I've created. I'll show you what I've already done for the solar panel to get that mounted up there, and you'll get to watch me struggle with some soldering. So cool. Alright, let's do this. Okay, so here's the setup for the solar panel, how I fixed it up onto the roof. Basically just used some angle iron stock and some flat stock from Home Depot. A couple of bolts. Those are lock nuts. To keep it from rattling around. It's on there nice. It's on there really well. It's not going anywhere. And then the cables just tucked up under there, along with something to keep the cables from from being everywhere. Makes it look a little bit nicer. What I'm going to finish up doing today is, like we talked about, get that other cable connected to it, and then solder it home. We're already out of the sun, but I think I'll still end up throwing a towel or something over this to make sure that it doesn't it's not generating any power, because I don't want to short it out or anything dumb like that. So let's get started. Alright guys, sorry about the weird angle, but that's what we got. So this is the positive, this is the negative. It's kind of easy to tell when they put a fuse in it. Good on them for doing it. 15 amp max, which is fine. I think my controller is capable of handling more than 15, but that doesn't matter because my solar panel should never put out more than 15. So the first things I need to do is I need to strip off these end caps that were going onto the battery terminal, because we don't need them anymore. So I'm just gonna give them a clip real quick. Go the other way here. Boom, and boom. And then I'm going to strip them. Now, you don't need a lot to put in the bottom of these little bullets. In fact, less is more, because you can actually melt some of the insulation just a little bit, and it helps. So you don't really need too awful much to get that done. Collect that and throw it away properly. Oh, a little more than that. Come on now, tool. There we go, kind of. Well, blooper reel. I don't have one, but anyway. So that's the ends. Again, we really don't need a lot of them. We do need to tin them if we have the opportunity. If my soldering tool will let me. I've had some trouble with this. Really not happy with this. Come on. That's embarrassing. Anyway, typically that vice grip tool is pretty handy, typically. Alright, well, we can tin it like that. So, in order to tin it, you want to take your solder and your soldering iron, and what you want to do is you want to heat the wire up one at a time, and then just melt solder around it. Whether or not I'm going to be able to do that is, I don't know. Like I said, I've had some difficulties with this. We'll get it started. You kind of feel it. Make sure heat's coming off of it. It's hard to see whether or not it's on, but yeah, those holes will tell you. This jig that I created is wood because that's what I could make. Not a great idea to solder with wood, as you can see the scorch marks, but you know, other than the massive fire hazard, really not too awful bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this wire up as best I can, and then we're going to try and tin it. We'll see if it tins. I couldn't get some 10 gauge to tin earlier, but 10 gauge is big wire. So we'll just give this. I'm going to create a little jig here to allow me to don't get it twisted. Eventually I will give up and I will just do it the way that I was doing it in practice mode, which did not involve tinning the wire first, but I don't think it's going to have any real issues or lasting effect on the end product. I have to be careful. I don't want to push the soldering iron off, burn the trailer down. That would suck. Comes a different kind of video when you do that, isn't it? Anyway, nobody shows this in real time, I don't think, because it takes forever. I mean, I'm not even sure that the soldering iron? The soldering iron is not even hot enough to melt this stuff yet. Oh, there we go. Okay. Alright. Maybe I'm just being impatient. Wouldn't be the first time. God, this is just painful. Oh, kind of using the soldering iron too much, but it's working, kind of. Maybe a little bit. Maybe not at all. So the goal of this is that you would get this soldering onto the end of this cable without the use of the actual soldering iron itself. The soldering iron should not be what you're touching to heat and melt. It should go straight onto the cable. But as you can see, I'm struggling mightily to do that. I don't know if it's the soldering iron. I don't know if it's me being impatient. But at this point, I'm giving up because it's just not happening for me. So that's fine. I'm also running out of butane in this. Doesn't really matter. I have a better method. I'm going to refill this with butane after it cools. Nice and warm right now. And then I'm going to show you that alternative method. So stand by. Okay, so the alternative method that I've discovered for doing this, that I'm sure other people are doing and they're just not posting it on the internet. All I'm going to do is I'm going to melt solder into this cup. I'm then going to take my torch and I'm going to heat up this bullet until it's super hot, and then I'm going to put it I'm going to put my wire into it while it's still super, super hot and just let it sit. Before it gets really cold or cool, I'm going to pull it into this. I'll show you that process and then I'll repeat it. So my soldering iron is still a little bit warm. I refilled it, so we should get some good heat out of it. Yep. All right. So in this particular instance, I'm going to actually use the tip of it to melt the solder. Once it gets warm enough, into the cup. There's a little hole on my side that I can feed the solder into. Now, why I don't just use the torch is because this resin core will actually light on fire and flame up, and I'm pretty sure that burns it all off of there. And you kind of want it. You want the resin core. God, this soldering iron takes forever to get warm. There we go. Now it's starting to melt. Alright. So you want to heat this about halfway up. Or fill the cup up halfway anyway. Again, I'm not terribly concerned with keeping it liquid in the cup. This is more about just getting it in there, trying not to breathe in the fumes. Alright, so I got a pretty good amount in there, okay? I can turn this off. I don't need it anymore. Now we're going to use the torch. We want to take the pliers. We want to turn the cup, okay? I'm gonna do my positive end first because I've got less room to deal with the positive end. I'm gonna take my torch. I'm gonna put flames to the non-hole side. I don't want to burn that solder. I just want to melt it down. I want to get this nice and hot. All right, she's melting. Now, before it cools down too much, remember how we talked about how hard this is to pull? Get it in there, okay? I don't really want to tug on this wire too awful much. The solder is dry. The solder is cooled. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take an Allen wrench. I'm going to stick that in there like that. Now this is nice and hot. I can feel it. It's actually burning me a little bit. And that doesn't work, so it doesn't want to go that way. Take pliers that you brought with you. That way you don't squeeze the cable. I'm telling you guys, it is this hard. Oh man, this is ridiculous. So even with this thing really warm, I am struggling to get it over that edge, which is just, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Should have brought a hammer out here. Let's see if I can get some more leverage. I really don't want to screw this up because that's a good solder in there. She's in there really good, so I'd really like to get this. The plastic is still pretty warm, should be kind of malleable at this point, you'd think, but she just doesn't want to. Man. All right. Look at that. Look at that. It's like it's not even, it will not go in there. It's so tough. I'm going to go get a hammer and see if I can figure out something else to do with this, because it's ridiculous. I'll let you guys, I'll let you know if I end up breaking this. Okay, well, as you see, I had to grab a hammer, and what I eventually did was I just I put it on a bigger one because there's a bigger opening on the female side, and I literally just, you know, took this and put it around there, and then I just hammered it home. She did go, and once they're in, you know, it's a good connection, you know, it's not going anywhere. You can, you know, you can use it, unplug it, that kind of thing. They're just a pain in the butt. And I don't, you know, I got these from Amazon. I'm sure that they're not name brand. I don't know where to get name brand. I would have bought name brand if I could have found name brand. So whoever's making EC8 connectors name brand, you're not doing a good advertising job. All right? You know, I mean, if you see this video, highly doubtful, but if you ever do, maybe add a link below or something. Heck, I'll rep you. I'll sponsor you just for free, just to make it so that other people don't have to deal with this, because this is ridiculous. But let's do the next one, and I'll see if I can just keep going recording wise to get it all in one shot, so that way you guys can see the process, because it's interesting to say the least. But the solder was good though. I actually, you know, for me and my lack of experience in solder, I was pretty excited with how well that solder went. Hopefully this time I won't have to pull my my soldering iron tip off to use the little heat gun thing that these come with to warm back up the plug. We'll see. I swear to God, filling these things is the biggest pain in the butt too. I don't know anybody who like disagrees. I'm sure. Not that I talk to a lot of people about filling butane torches. All right, so let's get that warm. Like I said, we're gonna just same. We're gonna melt solder into the tip there. I got a lot of solder this time out of my little thing, so that way I can do it. And then we'll take the torch, we'll melt it, we'll stick the thing in there, and then we'll see if we can't get it all in one fell swoop this time. Takes time for these solder ends to warm up. This is probably where an electric solder, oh, here we go, is beneficial. Alright, I want a little bit more in there. That's good. Alright, I'm going to turn that off, get it cooling down just in case I need it. You don't really need to be quick about this process. I am going to turn I don't want the hole facing me. I'm going to turn that away. Probably didn't need the pliers. This thing is probably actually, yeah, it's not very warm. Solder has a very low melt point, which is kind of the point. We got our cable ready. We got our torch ready. Let's, this is the easier part. Let's do it. I always forget to lock it into place. Get this cup good and hot. There we go, solder's melted. All right. Now, let's try it again. Should feel the casing warm up in your hands. It's not too hot to touch yet, but we want to get it nice and warm. Be great. Oh, she's hot now. Be great if we could get it to snap into place with just our effort, but chances are good we won't. So, well, come on, cables. Good. Good God. All right. Make sure we're not clamped on anything. Not yet. Ooh, got it. Got it. That one's good. That one's real good. I actually might need to hit the other one again, because this one's in there a little bit further than the other one. So hard to know where to stop on these. There they are. Okay. Done. Done. All right. So this is the inside. This is the inside. Done. Good connections. You know, not going anywhere. Still rather warm. Not too hot though. Not burn anything. So that's that. That's EC8 plugs. How easy is that, huh? I mean, come on. No wonder everybody's using these. No, they're really popular in like RC, especially like RC flying, where I imagine it takes a lot of power to get something off the ground. And so they want, you know, they want a really solid connection. They want a connection that's capable of holding a lot of power through it, and that's why they use EC connections. EC3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, whatever. We're on EC8. That's these. They're not awesome. They tell you which way to go though, plus minus, and they're not impossible. So 6 minutes, folks. 6 minutes and 32 seconds and counting to get that one side done. So, you know, just take your time, make a day of it. All right, I'm gonna finish wiring in the solar panel to the plug to this now, and then we'll see if we're charging. And if we're not, I don't know, I quit. You know, just quit. All right, cool. Okay, so we're out here getting the plug ready. Wanted to show you something. So I've got my fancy no solder heat shrink on there. Notice the new tool that I picked up. Remember how it was like, you should use one of these little metal reflectors, and I was like, meh, no, I'm sure it's gonna work a lot better. So this is what I ended up having to do though. So the little solderless heat shrink guys don't really like to fit over top of these really heavily insulated cables. And so what I ended up doing is I cut half of the cables out, and then I cut half of the cable out there, and I'm going to just basically sandwich them together in there, and then heat them in, solder them down, and call it good. So I'll get this done. I also have my extra heat shrink over top of it, ready to go after that's been done. Same, I actually found a color match on that one, kind of nice. So I'll get this done and show you the result. Okay, well, even with the magical metal screen, it's still got a little away from me right there. So it's good though. I'm really glad that I have the extra heat wrap over top of it. The cables look good. The positive one looks really solid. The negative one, well, you know, practice makes perfect, and that was my second attempt. So, but either way, they're in there. They're good. I mean, I think they're good. I'm going to tuck it into the cable shield and plug it in, pull the towels off, and we'll see if we're getting any sort of charge from the cable. All right, I'll bring you back on when we're there. Okay, so we are charging. Now, out of a 224 watt panel, the fact that I'm pulling in 45 watts might have a little bit to do with the fact that it's kind of in the shade. May have a lot more to do with the fact that it's old. Could have a little bit to do with my wiring. I actually rewired that. You guys remember the black one just looked a little wonky, so I ended up rewiring that one. Didn't have the cables at all. I just, you know, I fitted the heat shrink with the solder tube into the cable, and then I fitted the other end and just kind of smashed them together, and they fit pretty well, and that seemed to do the trick. They look a lot neater. They're a lot nicer. Double heat shrink still. Not quite sure I melted the solder all the way. I'm not a big fan of those things. I might have to play with them when I don't care as much and see if I can get them to melt a little bit better. because right now they're just not melting before the cable around it wants to melt, which doesn't surprise me. I mean, plastic's melting point is significantly lower than pretty much any other metal ever. So, but here we are. You saw for a second there I hit 50. Ooh, 66. Whoa, getting some big numbers now. No, hopefully this thing will, when, you know, direct sunlight, that kind of thing. I mean, solar panels are getting less finicky, but they're definitely still pretty finicky. So that's where we're at. I ended up wrapping this cable here, the charge cable. Loud exhausts save lives. They're annoying, but they save lives. Anyway, the other thing that's nice too is you can kind of see there's the status indicator light that popped right on when I plugged in the EC8 cable, so that's kind of nice. And it definitely turns off when there's no charge. I thought for a minute it just was doing it because there was a cable plugged into it, but when I pulled out the cable on the outside of the trailer, it went off. So that's good. It means it's only on when there's a charge. So when I brought the thing out here, is at like 94%. Granted, I don't have the inverter on right now, so it's not powering the trailer, but if I turn the inverter on, we're at 98%. Okay, so the trailer's on. We immediately drop down because that's how that's going to be. For some reason we're charging less. I wonder if the charge, I don't know, I read through the manual. I might contact Inergy about this, but I wonder if the charge knows to remove whatever the load is. So in other words, like right now I'm charging 24 watts because the inverter's on and there's a small load onto it. And if that's the case, I should go turn on my fan and I should go turn on my fridge and see if that makes a difference. I'll turn on the fan. I can't turn on the fridge. The wife's car is making it so I can't pull the kitchen all the way out, but I'll get the fan on and we'll see what happens. But okay, that's where we're at. I'll let you know, and I'll also show you the cleaned up cable once I get that fitted against the side of the trailer. So always read your manual. Energy, the manual says that the little 45 watts that you see there that fluctuates back and forth, that is the net either input or output of the battery. So basically what's going on here is when I first turned on my fan and came over here, I saw 70 watts, 82 watts. It was going even higher. And then I've seen, since I started looking at it, I've seen discharges as low as 20 watts. So at this point I'm going to chalk it up to my solar panel. I put a used solar panel up there because I got it dirt cheap. Chances are super good that is the reason why this thing is showing a discharge. Plus it's a little bit obstructed by a tree, and as everybody knows, 12. As everybody knows, you can't obstruct solar panels at all. It's also flat on the roof. This is supposedly winter in California, nearly 90 degrees today, but whatever. And so I should have the thing angled to get the best. It is basically, I'm not setting this solar panel up for success whatsoever, and I'm still seeing, something better than nothing. Newer solar panel angled would be way better. I'm sure that if Energy, if you bought one of their solar panels, it would be way better. Perhaps one of these days I will show you the difference. It'd be pretty easy since Energy also uses MC4, and that's what I have at the on the top of the trailer at this point with my setup. But with that in mind, I need to go clean that up and finish the installation of that, so that way I can show you. Well, here's the finished product. Get the plug all the way up there like that. I can leave that plugged in, shouldn't be a problem. Charging, 88 watts. Turned off the fan, so might turn the fan back on now that we're that high, just to see what it gives me. But really at that point it's just, playing around with it, seeing what's up. It's also, according to the thing, reached 100% charge, which is nice because it hasn't really been that long. In YouTube world, it's only been a fraction of a few seconds. That was really quick for you guys. But really all it took was going from where it was, what you guys were looking at, to me just cleaning that portion of the trailer and installing those sticky things and getting it zip tied down. But I think it turned out really well. That's it for today. In the future, the next sorry, there was a bee. Don't kill them. There are already too many things killing them, but I don't want to be stung. Really prefer not to. Thank you. Next time, right there, that open spot right there, completely in the shade, solar shower. Yeah, making one. I've already got the start of it in the garage. It's really just a lot of busy work, but I'll take you through the process once it's done, probably, because unless I come up with something difficult that I want to film for you, it's pretty straightforward. Just a lot of cutting, and I want to spare you that crap. So anyway, all right. Until next time, this has been Dusty Trail.